Joining us right now is none other than the Northeast Wrestling Champion, Brian Anthony. Brian, thanks for joining us.
Steve, John, thanks for having me on. All my pleasure. And, hopefully we get some people listening tonight, get them excited for Wrestling Into the Stars 3.
Awesome, Brian. Yeah, thanks a lot. Basically, we want to find out different questions from different superstars that we always talk to. And I always try to go back to that one moment, if you could remember, that made you want to become a pro wrestler. Is there anything that happened in time that, you just said to yourself, I need to do this. I need to be a pro wrestler?
Yeah, I'm sure you've had, 1,000 guys on that are my age or around my age, and the answer's probably always the same, and it's, that Hulk Hogan era. I can't really point out one moment where I said, this is awesome, this is what I want to do. But I just remember, even as a little kid, 4, 5, 6 years old, begging, my mom, my dad, hey, I got to stay up, Hulk's going to be on tonight, wrestling's on tonight, I got to watch it. And I just remember begging and pleading, crying my eyes out to stay up and watch wrestling all the time. And, you get through the Hogan era, as a little kid, and, you get your Hulkamania, your shirt, your action figures, the whole deal. And then as you grow up a little bit, and you start to really appreciate the art form. I remember, getting into my teenage years and guys like, Kurt Hennig, of course, is Mr. Perfect, and Brat, and just all those guys, just, Shawn Michaels, watching what they could do, and thinking like, man, this is so cool. Like, I want to do this one day, and there's nothing that's going to stop me from doing this. And, it just transcends throughout your life. You grow up in the first glitz and glamour of it and the stardom, and then as you get older and you appreciate it and you see what these guys can do, and then, as you get even older and you get into it and you can really appreciate everything as a whole, the whole entertainment aspect of it to me is just amazing. The presentation and just how much it's grown over the years is really, the whole package really made me want to get into it. The athleticism, the stardom, the larger-than-life characters, just everything, man.
Sure, yeah.
Awesome. Well, Brian, once again, thanks for joining us. We found out that you were trained by Jason Knight, ECW alumni, and Paul Roma. Can you just kind of take us through the process once you decided that this is what you were wanting to do? How did that come about, and what were some of the biggest things that these guys taught you?
It's funny and it's not how it all came about. It was something, like I said, I grew up wanting to do. And as I got through high school, I said to myself, I'm going to do this, and I started to really think, like, I'm going to graduate high school, I'm going to go to college, and I'm going to do this. So that's pretty much what I did. I graduated high school, I started college. Wasn't really my whole, it wasn't my thing, I did okay, but I said to myself, I really want to try this wrestling thing. So I reached out, I jumped online, and I think at the time AOL was still on dial-up, and I waited for a little guy to run across the screen, and, every day looking for wrestling schools. And it was a hard thing. You couldn't find them. There was nowhere to go, So eventually I came across Jason's website, called up the number, I want to say a dozen times before I finally got a hold of a person. And I started thinking to myself, man, maybe this isn't going to happen because it was so hard to get a hold of somebody. So, one night he picks up the phone and I said, hey, man, I want to come down and check you out. So I did. Found him on a little side road out in Waterbury. Middle of the night, I remember it was raining. I get there. A GPS drops me off at whatever address, and I said to myself, there's no way this is a wrestling school. I go to the building. It was, beat up building, graffiti, little steel door. So, sure enough, I go and open the door, and there it is, an old beat up ring, and Jason's sitting there and says, you sure you want to do this? And I said, yeah, I'm sure I want to do this. He says, all right, kid, and so I came back and got in the ring a couple times, and, man, I learned how to get beat up at Jason High School, that's for sure, man.
Wow.
If there's one thing that guy's going to do to you, it's going to be to toughen you up.
Nice. Yeah, it's interesting.
So I kept coming back,
Yeah, it's interesting because for us, me and Jonathan, we're not wrestlers, obviously. So we're always curious to hear these different stories of how other wrestlers got into it, who they were trained by and whatnot. Because granted, I don't know about you, Jonathan, but I don't know if you could probably cut being a wrestler, but maybe a manager or somebody. I don't know, Jonathan, right?
Hey, let me just tell you. I mean, for people that don't know, I mean, I said it was funny, and it's not. I mean, it was funny because of just how hard it was to try and even get a hold of somebody that had a wrestling school and to get in there. I mean, I tried for months. I think it was
Wow.
literally about 2 months before I finally found it online and then got a hold of somebody to actually talk to. I started to think, maybe the school was closed. And then finally one night he just picked up the phone. He happened to be there, and, so I showed up. But, just to give you an idea of how tough it was. I mean, it's not like you just hop in a wrestling ring, you start bouncing off the ropes and throwing suplexes and arm drags. It doesn't work like that. I mean, they test you. I mean, Jason really tested me. And I remember, somebody even saying to him, I was a really tiny kid. I mean, I was about probably $150 when I started at Jason's. And I remember somebody saying to him, this kid has no business doing this. And Jason, he came to my defense and said, no, he does. He's got the heart for it. And, I went up there and I got beat up every day, and I just kept coming back. And that's why he kept training me. I mean, we had, no joke, we had football players come in from college that couldn't do it. We had an ex-Marine come in. I remember he lasted about 2 days, couldn't do it. And then, we did have some other guys down there that, Northeast fans will be familiar with. Kurt used to train down there, Kurt Adonis.
Oh yeah.
Kurt was one of the guys that was very influential in me staying there, because I remember him saying to me the first time he met me, he was like, "You really want to do this?" He was like, "I can tell." He's like, "You have it." And, Ron Zombie came down there, and Velvet, of course, was down there training. Mm-hmm. It's not easy, man. They're going to make you earn it. They're going to beat you up and make you come back.
No, yeah, definitely. We give you a ton of credit. I mean, it's definitely not easy. But I got a question, Brian, too. I mean, you've had a lot of success in singles competition. Granted, you probably are one of the longest reigning Northeast Wrestling champions of all time. But if you had a tag career, if the opportunity came up to be in a tag team, would there be anybody in the past or present you would love to have teamed with or team with today?
I mean, I think the obvious answer to that question, if I could team with anybody in wrestling, and you grew up, like you said, you'd be a Hulk Hogan fan, Ric Flair and all these guys, of course you're going to choose one of those guys. But if I got to be realistic about it, and somebody was to say to me right now, "Hey, we're having a tag team tournament, you're going after the tag team gold," and they were to force me to team with somebody, first I would try and get a cloning device and clone myself so I could team with myself. But since that's still out of the realm of expectations, I don't know. Maybe I could give Paul Roma a call. That guy helped train me, taught me a lot about the business. He put a lot of time into me. Maybe I could get Paul Roma to come out of retirement. We could team it up. But if Roma, if he didn't want to lace the boots back up, they say it's good to keep your friends close, your enemies closer. Probably one of my biggest rivals in Northeast Wrestling history is Matt Taven. Maybe me and Matt Taven could team up.
There you go.
Keep my biggest enemy as close as possible.
Well, now that we've figured out maybe a couple tag team partners for you, you've went against so many people in Northeast Wrestling. Is there one person that you haven't got to go toe-to-toe against that maybe you're hoping that you get to go against soon?
I've been with the company so long now. It's been over 7 years I've been with Northeast Wrestling. You just said it. I've wrestled so many guys, in Northeast Wrestling that have come and gone. I mean, Jason Blades, of course. I've been in the ring with local favorites, Ron Zombie, Kurt Adonis 100 times, and those guys always give me a run for my money. Of course, August 16th, another match, me and Matt Taven. In a couple of years since me and Matt Taven were going up and down the road against each other, that's going to be a big one. To say that there's one guy that I want to defend the title against, Jimmy Preston. He's up and coming in Northeast Wrestling. I know he's been around the block. I'm sure I got to keep my eyes open on that guy. Mm-hmm. But no, to answer your question, I'm actually really excited to get back in the ring on the 16th against Matt Taven, because for 3 years now, people are saying I got lucky because I chased that belt for so long when Matt Taven was champion, and people said I got lucky by beating him. And this is an opportunity for me to finally prove to everybody that, you know what, I was a Northeast Wrestling champion for a reason. And of course, August 2nd, Wrestling Under the Stars, Evan Bourne. This guy's been around the world and back. He's wrestled and beaten everybody. This could be a career-defining moment for me.
Yeah, and speaking of Brian, you're talking about your match coming up August 2nd at Duchess Stadium. Evan Bourne and Caleb Conley. Do you think this will be your biggest challenge yet for Northeast Wrestling defending the title?
Yeah, I mean, I think what I just said kind of sums that up. I mean, as far as it being a career-defining moment, I mean, I've been in the ring with a lot of guys. Northeast Wrestling has given me amazing opportunities. I've been in the ring with everybody from Ric Flair to Shannon Moore, Sergeant Slaughter, Shane Helms, Jerry Lawler. I mean, I'll name drop all day if you want me to, but Evan Bourne is a top class athlete. Caleb Conley is a top class athlete. These guys are world renowned stars, been all over the country. These guys are world renowned athletes. Everyone recognizes these guys. Evan Bourne's been around the world with WWE. So if I can walk out of Wrestling Under the Stars 3, this could definitely be one of the biggest moments of my career. Like I said, a defining moment, and I'd really use it as an opportunity to prove to everybody why I am where I am.
Awesome.
And it could be a big night for Brian Anthony.
Awesome. Yeah, I can't wait. Definitely.
Now, Brian, we've asked you a lot about your career, singles career, tag career, possibly your training. Now we're just going to kind of ask you something that we all want to know. Neon green seems to be your trademark color. Is there any reason for that, or is it just you really like green?
Man, it's funny. When I first started wrestling, I remember seeing, everyone doing their own thing and just watching the guys. They had their gear, they had their merchandise, had all the stuff. And honestly, green was like my favorite color growing up. I want people to see this color and recognize it for Brian Anthony. But on the same token, from a markability standpoint, I really just used it to make myself stand out from everything else that I saw at the time.
Well, I'll tell you right now that just from what you're saying, I pretty much guarantee you that people know Brian Anthony and associate that with lime green because at any show I see, I'll see anytime that you're wrestling, it'll be like a sea of lime green. So I definitely think you got your point across with that.
Hey, man, when I first came out with that whole Anthony Army thing and came out with the lime green shirts, I was like, I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm going to give it my best shot. And it really makes me feel good when I go to a show and I come out to the ring and hold the belt up and I see little kids going crazy. They're wearing the lime green shirts. You really can't describe that feeling, and I'm sure 100 guys have said that, and it sounds cliche, but it's really like the greatest feeling in the world. I go on Facebook and hashtag Anthony Army and come out with the Anthony Army T-shirts, and when I see it actually working, it really puts a smile on my face.
Awesome. Well, Brian, for everybody listening to right now, if you head over to northeastwrestling.com, we're talking about Wrestling Under the Stars 3, August 2nd at Duchess Stadium. Also, don't forget Heatwave, August 16th at Bethany Town Hall. Be sure to get your tickets at northeastwrestling.com. But Brian, how can your fans keep up with you too? You mentioned some hashtags of Anthony Army. Are you on Twitter, on Facebook, and all that?
Yeah, I'm on the Twitter deal. The whole hashtagging thing, I'm still not great at. I'm still trying to figure out the whole Twitter universe. But hey, I'm on there. If you go on Twitter and you look up Anthony Army, I'm on there. I can't promise I'll get back to you because, like I said, I'm still trying to work on the whole responding thing and hashtagging and all that. But yeah, if you go on Facebook, facebook.com/WrestleAnthony, I'm on there. That's really the best way to keep up with me because I can respond in real human text. And I'm usually pretty good with that. But, the Twitter thing I'm still working on. But, yeah, Facebook's the best way to get a hold of me. And, of course, you come out to the shows. Like I said, I've been in Northeast Wrestling now for over 7 years, and I have not missed one show in 7 years. So if you come to a Northeast Wrestling show, you can pretty much bet on it that I'm going to be there. So come out, August 2nd, get everybody down there, me, Caleb Conley, Evan Bourne, titles on the line, and I'm promising that I'm going to walk out of there with that belt because August 16th, Matt Taven, as long as I have that belt, that is going to be his absolute last chance at the Northeast Wrestling title.
Awesome, Brian. Thanks for joining us. I don't know about you, Jonathan, but it was a great experience. Great talking with you, Brian Anthony. We will be there at Wrestling Under the Stars. We will be there at Heatwave. Everybody listening tonight, like I said, check out northeastwrestling.com. You can get your tickets today. Thanks again, and Jonathan.
Yeah, be sure to bring your lime green, whether it's a shirt or a towel or anything you can find, and let's show some love for the Anthony Army.
Hey, listen, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't mention that. If you don't have one of those lime green shirts, they'll definitely be on sale at Wrestling Into the Stars 3. So, just in case you need one.
Earlier, we talked to Northeast Wrestling Champion Brian Anthony, and that's not nice. But now we have none other.
That's what people. That's not me. That's all the people.
Oh, okay. For those of you who are familiar with Northeast Wrestling, we have former Northeast Wrestling champion Matt Taven and also current Ring of Honor superstar Matt Taven.
This is true. And hello. And you did get one thing wrong, though. You did forget to mention that I will soon to be two-time Northeast Wrestling heavyweight.
Wow. Yeah, I that kind of remains to be seen, but
I mean, you can pretty much write it down.
Yeah, okay. Well, you heard it here first, I guess.
To chisel it into a rock because it's going to happen.
Okay, well, for those of you who don't know Matt Taven, I'm going to see if he will give us kind of a brief introduction on just, how you got into the business and, what you've done so far.
Hi, I'm Matt Taven. All right, there you go. No, just kidding. Let's see, how did I start? I actually told this story the other day to someone, and it's a really weird story how I got started. But I started loving wrestling as a very teeny tiny 6-year-old boy, falling in love with wrestling like most young kids do. And I just was always a wrestling fan right up until the Attitude Era. I mean, I was on and off for a little bit here and there, but for the most part, big wrestling dork. And then I went to college and kind of forgot about wrestling for a little bit. And this is where the story gets weird. Chris Benoit dying is actually what got me back into wrestling, because I heard the news and was so like, what? That I forced my friends to come over my house and come watch the Raw that was going on. And I fell like right back in love with wrestling. I also just happened to be getting out of college at this time. I started working for the Patriots, and I just became like this avid wrestling fan. And one of my buddies was doing some independents up here, and he told me, come down and just check it out, or check out the show, or maybe just jump. He kind of said it as like a passing remark, like jump in the ring and see if you like it. And so I went down there and instantly was hooked. Decided immediately that that's what I needed to do, and then hooked up with Spike Dudley School in Fall River, Mass. Trained under Spike. Also trained under a couple other people, Ryan Waters, Mike Bennett, Bob Evans. But Spike is where I got started. And it really took off from there. I mean, within a year, I had to quit my job at the Patriots, because I was working for the Patriots in the Revolution, and a lot of weekends and times where I would be gone for wrestling was times that I was supposed to be working. So I had to make a decision, and I decided to chase the dream, and that's how I got started.
Well, we're glad you decided to chase that dream.
I'm glad too. I've had a blast.
Now, Matt, that's interesting, because me and Jonathan, the ship has sailed. We're never going to be pro wrestlers, so we're always interested in hearing about the training process too. I mean, you mentioned Bob Evans, Spike Dudley. Any insights of some of the training you did with them on how it was? Because we always hear the stories on how rigorous training is. We're curious. I know the fans are curious. Maybe any insights to some of the training you went through?
I mean, I trained with a bunch of different people, so it's always kind of different. One person's different from the next. But I always tell kids that are starting out, kids, because I'm such an old man, I always tell people that are starting out to train under as many people as possible, because the different trainings is really where you get rounded. I mean, some people like to have heavy blow-up sessions and really try to push your limits and see if you want to be a wrestler. Some people are looking to, get more of a psychology base. Like, I break it down like this. Like, I started with Spike, and there was another guy that was training at this point, Ryan Waters. I was also teaching Spike students, and they really taught me the basics. And then Spike at the same time was really good at, I think he knew, I mean, I was a little bit older than, your average 18-year-old going in there. But I think he just kind of knew I was picking up the basics pretty quick. So he was pretty good with me with showing and teaching me kind of advanced stuff pretty early. Bob Evans is, I always say I love training with Bob because he would just get in the ring and pretty much swallow you up. He would get in the ring and destroy you until you fought back. And Bob beat the shit out of me. Not sure if I can swear, but
no, that's fine.
The crap out of me. And I literally had to ask myself, am I going to let Bob Evans beat me up right now, or am I going to punch him in the face? And you literally had to fight back. You had to fight for your stuff to get your stuff in. And also, Bob was waiting to get out of these new kids the whole time. And once that snaps and clicks in your mind, you're Bob ends up kind of showing you more advanced stuff. So everyone's got a different way of teaching. And even now, I help train. Oh, I forgot Mike Bennett. Mike Bennett is he's the nicest human being on the face of the earth. So he's the nicest trainer on the face of the earth. He always knows. He's more of an advanced teacher anyway. He's not going to really show you the basics. He's going to kind of let you wrestle and then give you his pointers. And he's just such a dork for how he does it. It could be the worst match in the world, and nice guy Mikey Bennett is wasn't that bad? Wasn't that bad? Well, you could have worked on this and this and this and this and this and this. And this. So I'm so it was bad. So why don't you just stop bullcrapping me? But certain people learn under different. Certain people get yelled at. I played football growing up, so getting yelled at was fine with me. But other people that aren't used to that, head coach mentality, they wither under that. So a Mike Bennett who can give it to you soft pretty much, he's better for teaching those kind of kids. So I always think that train under as much people as possible. I actually kind of help out every once in a while at the New England Pro Wrestling Academy up in Andover, the former Chaotic School. And I think it's a good thing because, you got a bunch of different guys in there that are going to teach you in different ways. And like I said, not everyone can learn a certain way, and not everyone, and I don't think you should learn under one person because wrestling is a bunch of different flavors. So
sure.
So Matt, when you look at today's pro wrestlers, or even some from the past, you can see that certain people probably influence their style or their career. Is there one or two, wrestlers that really, this person plus this person equals Matt Taven?
There's 4 of them, and I just thought about this the other day. It's definitely my Mount Rushmore of people that I've ripped off and try to become. It would be Bret Hart, obviously, is my first love.
Nice.
Shawn Michaels, who doesn't love Shawn Michaels? It's pretty 2 easy ones. Chris Jericho. Just because I always loved his athleticism, we're kind of similar size, and that's the way I kind of move anyway. So, and I'm just, I loved him since I was a kid. So Chris Jericho and then Rob Van Dam. So if you combine all that, hopefully you get me. That's pretty difficult when I say that, but that's where I get my influences from, or that's at least when I started. Those are the people I always kind of emulated, and now I can kind of make my own out of, what I took from them. But if there was any people to pick, it would definitely be those 4.
Awesome. Now, Matt, you've become a mainstay at Ring of Honor. You recently even captured the World Television Championship. But who are you most looking forward to facing in Ring of Honor in the future? Is there any one name right now in Ring of Honor that you really want to fight?
That I haven't wrestled before in Ring of Honor?
Yeah.
Anyone. Well, I mean, me and Mike Bennett have never wrestled in Ring of Honor, and we have wrestled all over the place and had some outstanding matches. And I think if, we ever get put in the ring together, the Ring of Honor fans would get blown away. But I've pretty much wrestled everyone else. Oh, Jay Briscoe I haven't wrestled yet. Jay Briscoe is we are such contrasting but also similar styles. He's a shit kicker, and I'm kind of finesse, but he can also do, athletic stuff, and I think we just have an awesome match, and I just think the clashing of styles would be great to watch.
Awesome.
Okay, now we recently, just like I said, talked to Brian Anthony, and we asked him, if there was, since he'd had mainly a singles career, if there was one person he could tag with, who would he want to tag with? Now, he said that in an effort to keep his friends close but his enemies closer, that he would like to possibly tag with you, just so he could keep an eye on you. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I mean, it makes sense because who do you know better than your enemies? And I know Brian. I mean, I've wrestled Brian as much as anyone else, if not more. So I know exactly his strengths and his weaknesses. So I would probably pick Brian too. He'd probably be up there on my list, or at least definitely in the top 5, because we go back and forth, and we're pretty dead even when it comes to getting in the ring. So I'm pretty impressed with myself. So some guy that can keep up with me, I'll take him.
All right, perfect. Now, Matt, you've competed for several promotions throughout your career. How does it feel to be home, coming back for August 2nd, Wrestling Under the Stars for Northeast Wrestling?
Honestly, I love it. I love it there at Northeast Wrestling. I'm so comfortable there, and I owe everything to Michael Lombardi and the people at Northeast Wrestling, because I was just another guy, just another fish in the sea. And Northeast, definitely took a chance on me. I was their champ for 2 years, and they have prestigious shows. I mean, they bring in all these different talents from all over the world, all these huge names. You get recognized pretty quick once you start making waves in Northeast Wrestling. So, I mean, if it wasn't for Northeast, Ring of Honor wouldn't have heard of me. Everywhere else, whatever other opportunities I had wouldn't have heard of me. It definitely means the world to me. But as far as Wrestling Under the Stars, even if I never wrestled for Northeast Wrestling before, I would want to be at this show. Even as as a silly teenage fan that's still raging inside me, the Young Bucks versus the Hardys, that match is incredible, and I haven't even seen it yet. So I would want to be there no matter what. And the fact that me and Mike Bennett finally get to wrestle in front of an even bigger audience, I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, and you just mentioned too that you never had a chance to wrestle me at a Ring of Honor. You get your chance on August 2nd at Dutchess Stadium against Mike Bennett. I mean, what do you have in store for Mike and Maria? And what are we going to expect from you two?
Well, the thing with wrestling Mike is that like I said, I've wrestled a million times. So I'm going to have to pull something out of my back pocket here. I'm going to have to start, doing some things that he's not going to realize are coming, that he doesn't recognize, that he hasn't seen before. So if you're at Dutchess Stadium on August 2nd, you might see something you've never seen before from Matt Taven. And I plan on pulling out all the stops to not only show everyone what me and Mike Bennett can do in the ring together, but also show everyone that I'm much, much better than Mike Bennett.
Okay, so that kind of plays right into what I was getting ready to ask. Now, you want to keep showing people how good you are. What are your current goals as far as pro wrestling today? Actually,
at the moment, it will be to take the television title back from Jay Lethal. I just hate Jay Lethal. I hate Truth Martini. I can't stand him. I want to, take the title, cut off Truth's hair, run over Jay with a truck, whatever. I just want to do the worst things in life. I want them to all happen to those two. So that's basically my focus at the moment. Once that happens, then I'm kind of open for whatever. That Ring of Honor World Title's always been something that I've wanted to get a hold of. I mean, it's a very prestigious title with only 20 champions since for the last 12 years, almost 13 years now. So it's definitely something that if you get your hands on that, you pretty much have etched your name in stone in the history books. So step one, kill Jay Lethal. Kill Truth Martini. Step 3, get the Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Championship.
Awesome. Now, Matt, after Wrestling Under the Stars, you have Heatwave coming up also with Northeast Wrestling. Now, the stipulation we hear is that, well, if Brian Anthony does retain the championship into Heatwave, you know, this will be your last title shot at the Northeast Wrestling Championship. You'll never get another title shot again. Are you nervous that this could be your last title shot?
No, not at all. I'm actually pretty confident. If Brian Anthony didn't purposely shove me into a referee at the last Northeast Wrestling show because he was scared to death that I was about to take his title back from him, I believe I'd be champion right now. So, you know, the fact that I'll never get another shot again, good. Because if I can't beat Brian Anthony after this time, I never want to see his face again. So, but I don't worry for 1 second that it come to Heatwave, August 16th, Bethany, Connecticut, you, without a doubt, will see the victory party of the 2-time Northeast Wrestling Heavyweight Champion, Matt Taven. So bring, you know, your party hats, your kazoos, streamers, cupcakes, cakes, cookies, bring it all. If you don't come with something, I'm going to be upset.
All right, Matt, we can't wait. We're going to be there August 2nd, Wrestling Under the Stars in Dutchess Stadium. Also, August 16th at Bethany Town Hall in Bethany, Connecticut. Matt, we wish you nothing but the best. Me and Jonathan, we're both Taven fans. We wish
Thank you guys.
We wish you the best at Ring of Honor and all that stuff, too. So,
thank you, guys. I couldn't appreciate that more. And if anyone that's listening, for everyone that has ever supported Matt Taven, you know, thank you guys so much, because honestly, not many people get to experience what, you know, I get to experience. I come home from all these trips and be like, hey, I just went to the Mall of America this week and then wrestled in front of a huge crowd in Minnesota. I went to the Arch in St. Louis and, you know, was amazing. And this weekend I'm going to be in Cincinnati and Dearborn, and it's just, sometimes you got to sit back and be like, wow,
yeah,
this is pretty awesome that I get to do this. But I would have never been able to do anything if it wasn't for the people that supported me. So Tavenville.
Okay. Well, Matt, once again, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you guys.
Just in case, you know, other people hear this and think, man, I got to check out this guy a little further. Is there any way that people can get a hold of you? Are you on Facebook, Twitter?
Of course there is. Of course there is. It's pretty simple. If you know how to spell Taven, which is Taven, and Matt, which if you don't know how to spell Matt, like, come on, cut it out. You should know how to spell Matt. Then you'll be able to find me wherever you're looking. Facebook, /Matt Taven. Twitter is @Matt Taven. If you're looking to email me for merchandise or for bookings, mattaven@gmail.com. So if you know my name, you can find me. Come say hello. Come join Tavenville. And come check out me and where it will be.
Should we have the hashtag? You should add the hashtag bring the cakes or bring the kazoos.
We might get that started. Maybe hashtag party started or party animals or bring the party, something. We'll work on it.
Awesome, Matt. Thanks again for joining us.
No, thank you guys.